At 1:19 in the morning, somewhere over the South China Sea, a pilot pressed his radio button and said 5 words. Good night. Malaysian 370. Calm. Routine. The kind of sign-off pilots make 10,000 times in a career. 38 seconds later, the plane vanished from radar. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. 7 hours after those words, long after the fuel should have run out, long after 239 people disappeared, a machine in the sky received one final, automated signal from that aircraft. And to this day, no one can fully explain it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why that last signal changed everything, and why, in just a few months, ships are heading back out to find it. March 7, 2014. Kuala Lumpur International Airport, just after midnight. Flight MH370 is about as ordinary as aviation gets. A Boeing 777, one of the safest aircraft ever built. A captain with over 18,000 flight hours. A red-eye to Beijing that this airline had flown thousands of times. 227 passengers. 12 crew. Engineers, artists, families coming home from vacation. 2 men traveling on stolen passports. Hold that thought, because the internet would later become obsessed with them. We'll get there. 12:41 a.m. Wheels up. Everything normal. 1:01 a.m. The plane levels off at 35,000 feet. The captain confirms it by radio. Normal. 1:07 a.m. The aircraft's automatic reporting system sends a routine status message. Normal. 1:19 a.m. Malaysian Air Traffic Control hands the flight over to Vietnam, and the captain gives that sign-off. Good night, Malaysian 370. That was the last time anyone on that plane ever spoke to the ground. Now, here's your first question of the night. When a plane crosses from one country's airspace to another, there's a gap. A handover. A few minutes where, technically, nobody is watching. Whatever happened next, happened exactly inside that gap. Think about what that means. For nearly 7 hours after vanishing, while search teams scoured the South China Sea, on the wrong side of the continent, MH370 was still in the air, still flying, still answering. And then, at 8:19 a.m., the 8th signal. This one was different. It wasn't the satellite asking the plane. It was the plane reaching out, a partial, incomplete log-on request. The kind of signal this equipment sends after a power interruption. The engines had flamed out. The plane was running on emergency power. That final handshake, the last evidence this aircraft ever produced, was, in effect, a machine gasping. 8:19 a.m. After that, nothing. Ever again. If you want to follow this investigation as new evidence surfaces, and it is surfacing, join the investigation by subscribing. Because this case is about to reopen. Literally. Now, those handshakes contain no GPS. No location. No altitude. Just timing and frequency data, numbers never designed to find a missing plane. But a team of Inmarsat engineers in London tried something that had never been done before. Using the tiny delays in each signal and the Doppler shift, the same effect that changes the pitch of a passing siren, they calculated where the plane could have been at each handshake. The result was 2 giant arcs on the map, one curving north over Asia, one curving south into the emptiest stretch of ocean on planet Earth. The northern route crossed some of the most heavily monitored military airspace in the world, and not a single radar saw it. The Doppler data agreed. The plane went south, into the southern Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers from any runway, a place sailors call one of the most remote waters on Earth. For over a year, that math was all anyone had. Then, in July 2015, a piece of metal washed up on a beach on Réunion Island, near Madagascar. A flaperon, part of a 777's wing. Serial numbers confirmed it, MH370. Over the following years, more than 30 pieces of debris appeared along African coastlines, exactly where ocean current models predicted if the plane had gone down along that southern arc. So the evidence tells us where, roughly. It even tells us when, 8:19 a.m. What it has never told us is who and why. Let's be honest about what's proven and what isn't. Because this case has drowned in speculation, and the families of 239 people deserve better than that. Confirmed by evidence. The turnback was real, captured on military radar. The 7-hour flight was real, recorded by satellite. The southern crash zone is supported by debris, drift modeling, and signal analysis. The final transmission came at 8:19 a.m. Theory 1. The pilot. The captain's home flight simulator contained a deleted route into the southern Indian Ocean, eerily similar to the estimated path. That's real, and it's disturbing. But investigators found no motive, no note, no history of instability. Suspicion is not proof, and officially, the pilot was never blamed. Theory 2. Hijacking. Those 2 stolen passports? Interpol investigated. Both men were Iranian asylum seekers heading to Europe. No terror links. Cleared. And no group ever credibly claimed the plane. Theory 3. Catastrophic failure. A fire or decompression could explain silent pilots. It cannot explain a plane navigating precise waypoints for hours afterward. Every theory explains part of the evidence. Not one of them explains all of it. And that gap, between what we can prove and what we can't, is exactly where this mystery has lived for over a decade. Before the ending, and there's a genuine development coming, drop your answer to this in the comments. Does the simulator route change your mind, or is it circumstantial? The best evidence-based arguments get pinned. Here's why this story matters right now. In 2026, 2 massive searches already failed. Australia led one covering 120,000 square kilometers. The technology company Ocean Infinity scanned another huge zone in 2018. Nothing. But earlier this year, Ocean Infinity returned with new drift analysis, refined satellite modeling, and autonomous underwater vehicles that can map the seabed in detail that didn't exist in 2014. And the deal Malaysia signed is remarkable. No fine, no fee. They only get paid $70 million if they locate the wreckage. The search pauses for the brutal southern winter and resumes this November, targeting the final unscanned sections of the Ark. Which brings us back to where we started. Good night, Malaysian 370. 5 calm words at 1:19 a.m. And then 7 hours of silent, automated whispers between a dying aircraft and a satellite that was never meant to be a witness. That final signal at 8:19 didn't just mark the end of a flight. It drew a line on a map, a line that investigators are still following, 12 years later, into the darkest water on Earth. Somewhere along that line, for kilometers down, sits a flight recorder that has been waiting all this time. It knows who was in the cockpit. It knows why the plane turned. And this November, we may finally get to ask it. Until then, the last evidence is all we have. If this case grips you the way it grips me, the investigation into the captain's simulator data goes deeper than most people realize. That's the next episode. Good night.